Good afternoon, everybody. Knocking out another player interview. All the teams just finished their quarterfinal games, moving on to the semifinals, the winners. But today I have Marlboro senior Olga Metelkine, Marlboro midfielder slash attacker, right?
Yeah.
Now, Marlboro, up and down season, big win against Middletown South.
Yeah, that one was big.
Through the season. You gave RBC a very good game, if right. I mean,
Mhm.
I wasn't there, but I was told it was, you gave them a pretty good game if you just couldn't finish.
Yeah.
So, you put 3 year varsity,
Yes.
3 year varsity. 1 year, unfortunately, was the COVID season, but uh,
Yeah.
we'll get through your high school stuff. But first, I like to start off. How old were you when you started playing soccer?
I believe 4 years old
Or
was when I started.
that is the common age I hear for 4 years old. So, and did you do any other sports growing up?
So I did cross country and track in middle school, and I actually was gonna do it freshman year, but then COVID happened, so track got canceled. But
Oh
uh,
yeah.
I really enjoyed running. I just thought I love playing soccer so much more, so I might as well just focus on one instead of being, average at both. That makes sense.
Before we get to your current club teams, do you remember your first coach ever for soccer?
Yes, it was. So it's actually my best friend's mom because it was on and actually my first coach ever would be then for rec, which was my dad.
Okay.
Um
Is that when you're running in a group
yeah,
of girls just running up and down the field?
exactly.
Okay.
That's a perfect way to summarize it. But when I played for Marlboro, it was my best friend's mom,
Okay.
Christy Castler. She's I still keep in contact with her today.
That's 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 great. Coaches that could form those bonds with players that,
Mhm.
years later you could still, pick up the phone or, reach out. How did she grow your game?
Um well, she just kind of always encouraged me to watch soccer, which was one thing that when I was younger I really didn't look to do. So she would always want to like sit down, watch a game. Um, but yeah, no, I'd say that was probably the biggest impact she had on me. I think most of the part though, I also didn't play that much when I was younger. I was I wasn't really a starter when I played on Marlboro, but I I she definitely helped me watch soccer. And now I love watching soccer with my parents, so it's good.
And who's your current club team?
I play for PDA
Okay.
in up north.
PDA North.
Yeah.
And who's your coach?
So it's actually been switching a lot recently. I have had a new coach every single year I've been here, but right now I believe it's Kevin Derives, I believe. Yeah, I'll check that later. It was before Justin Runna, and then I had Tom Worthington, but yeah, this new one is
Yeah,
definitely.
I know, and it's not just PDA, Cedar Stars. How difficult is, you said, you had a different coach pretty much every year. How difficult is that adjusting? I know PDA and these academies, they try to keep it the same style, you know, all throughout, but how difficult is it, responding to a different coach every year?
It's definitely extremely difficult because one coach sees you like to your full potential, but then like another could possibly just not think that you're good at all. And I don't know. It's very difficult because you have to like prove yourself every year, which honestly I like because I like having the challenge. Just makes me get better instead of like going through the formalities at practice.
Uh-huh.
But it's also the relationship aspect. I was really close with my first PDA coach, but then like just got a little more distant as the more of them got on. But yeah.
That's a good point too. You mentioned you did track. Um, what made you, pursue soccer, where soccer, became your priority?
I think it was when I went to PDA because on my old club before PDA, I was on Wildcats. Same
Okay.
scenario. I didn't play. I honestly thought I was just getting so much worse as more practice happened, which is just not how soccer should be. So switching to PDA and just getting actually good quality training, I think just made me love soccer even more, especially, when you're good at something, you like it more. So the more I got better at soccer at PDA is when I decided I'll just stop with track and just focus on soccer.
That's fine. It's kind of like my niece because she, I mean, she's little, but she's kind of want to given up with basketball already because she knows how good she is at soccer compared to basketball. But that's things kid goes through kids' heads, growing up. But it's also good, getting that coaching, getting that training to find your passion, for soccer and to develop, into the player you became. We'll switch over to high school now. Were you on? Did Marlboro have a freshman team, or were you on JV your freshman year?
So my freshman year, I believe I played like one game with freshmen, then I moved up to JV,
Okay.
and then I would like occasionally play on varsity, like
Okay. You were
10.
flex.
Yeah. But yeah, when I was a freshman, they had so many seniors on varsity, and they were just like
And they
my
had quite a few
size was really
juniors too.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think my size was really my weakness because I was just not physical, and high school soccer is just so physical, so it's really difficult. But yeah.
Any when you're a freshman, it could be a little intimidating. Any upperclassmen that helped you, along the way?
Freshman year, not really, but when I was a sophomore, I know like they obviously graduated, but Sam Kaplan, Krishna, like they were. I still hang out with them today. They actually came to our RBC game, and they were the captains when I was a junior, and
Okay.
I love them so much. They really just like made everything such a family. So I was really sad when they left, and I had to be the only senior on the team. But
That's key though to to making a name, or Marlboro making a name for a program. It's it just takes a couple leaders as a senior getting an underclassman like you to buy in, and then you pass it along. So it's good that that family type of atmosphere is so key for a program to go forward, because if there's a lot of bickering and nobody hanging out, you don't get the outcomes that you want. Now, your sophomore year, did you think the season was going to happen with COVID?
I mean, I actually did not, but I'm so glad that we got something going.
Okay.
I definitely thought it was challenging though, just everything with the masks, and then like also everything just seemed so weird. It was not the same as it always was. But uh I'm kind of almost like glad it happened. It was almost like a learning curve for the team because we'll always like reference games from that season and how we almost like just treated it like it was like a fun season. But like now we're just like, all right, we have to like actually try to win games. But no, it's that one was I felt bad for the seniors that were graduating that year because they had been working so hard for 3 years, and then it was just such a mess, honestly.
Yeah, and it had to be tough, not knowing, you getting on a bus, getting ready to go to a game, and then all of a sudden you might get a phone call. The other team, somebody might have came in contact, and all of a sudden, because you got prepared mentally for the games, and then all of a sudden the bus is turning around because the game got canceled. That had to be,
Yeah.
I don't know if did Marlboro have that at all? Did any games get canceled, or were you lucky enough to get through the
I
season?
I think we got through the season, but I do remember there was like an instance where we got a call after a game and they told us they were in contact and we had to like all get tested. I believe that happened at least once, but
I
yeah, it
think
was
that happened Marlboro basketball too at the end of the season.
yeah,
I think, yeah,
I,
somebody came in contact and they end up not being able to play in the postseason,
yeah.
which they had a really that year. The basketball team was pretty good
Mhm.
that year. So it just But I also said probably made your kids stronger and help you prepare. Especially your end of your freshman year, the way they just canceled school and then you had the online classes. I thought especially the seniors I was interviewing at the time, help with the adjustment when you get to college. Um, where you don't know where they just give you assignments and you have to do them on your own. It's not like regimented like high school kind of is. So I thought that that would help your kids in the long run. Now your junior year, sophomore to junior year, I usually see the biggest jump in athletes, their skill wise. What was something you really wanted to improve on? Finishing your sophomore year, going into your junior year.
Um, just being more confident, which is why I'm glad I had like Krishna and Sam because they ultimately would talk me up before games, and confidence was something I really struggled with taking people on, especially since I was a midfielder, but I played outside wing. So it was like a lot of taking people on, and I just wasn't really used to that. I normally play the ball, move, get it back. So it was more on my own, and it was difficult. So I wanted to just improve my confidence that junior year I could start playing more and just start showing that I'm not just like, someone that you could randomly throw, just I wanted to really become a starter. So it was important for me to improve my confidence.
That's big. Just talk at the big difference from previous 2 years. The team was under 500. I think one year they only had like 3 wins when I was looking back.
Yeah.
But then your junior year 13-7, you girls win the coaches tournament. How big did that mean you being part of turnaround for the program?
Um, I honestly, I was just very excited, and I always reference the Shore Coaches game whenever we are playing like a difficult team that everyone almost like is already mentally checked out of. Like for example, the Mid-South game, we actually like in the huddle, I was like, because in the Shore Coaches we were down I think 2-0, and then we came back up. So I always mention that because it's really just our skills just turn on when we want them to. It's so weird. We can either go through the formalities during a game, almost act like we don't want to play, or we could really try, move the ball fast, talk to each other. It's a really big mental thing, I would say, at least on this team. So yeah.
How tough is it to play like a team like Manalapan more than once a season? Because you're in this, like this year, Howell twice because of states, and it could have been possibly 3 times depending how the Shore, and especially A North is such a strong division, and
Yeah.
you could just see that by Middletown and Alvin Freeholds. You guys, you girls, you beat Middletown South, and kind of you ruined their chances for them challenging Freehold for the title. But how difficult play like a team like Manalapan or Middletown South or Howell twice in a season?
I mean, personally, I wouldn't really say it's difficult. I love having those games because I think those games are when we typically play the best. I think when we're playing a team that's so good, they really push us to also be good. And like I'll always say that because whenever we play teams that are just we should be winning, we always play so odd. But the intensity is always up when we're playing teams like RBC or South, which is we won. So that was a crazy game. And then Township, obviously we did not do our best in that game, but we
They're a
still
special
tried.
team.
Yeah, but it was good to. I think we played them after Mid-South, so it was almost like a humbling. But yeah,
That's a good way to put it. Now your senior year, senior leader of the team, what is something you're hoping to pass down to the underclassmen that they carry on?
I just don't want anyone to like fight. Drama was like drama is just like a big thing for me, especially when it comes to soccer, because if people aren't getting along, then the chemistry on the field is off. So I'm just hoping that Carly and Jess, who are the captains, will be next year, and then also whoever we decide to also make captain, that they just really focus on the team chemistry, have pasta parties, gets in like include the freshmen more. I just think it's really important to have good chemistry, and I think that's one thing that the captains are the most in control of because everyone looks up to them, so they have a big impact on that.
That's great. Now we'll talk this season a little bit. Obviously, what was the message when Middletown South, like that was the biggest win, obviously, to see you spoiled their season. But what was like the message going into that game that coach was delivering to you, or the pregame speech?
He actually always kind of says the same thing, and it always does the trick. He kind of just says that like people don't expect us to win, which every team we play, the other team is always predicted to win.
Yeah.
And it just makes us so angry that that really encourages us to play way better. But yeah, because he obviously knows our skill potential the most out of everyone, and he just wants us to be able to showcase that and let everyone know that we're not a joke. We're not just a team you play for senior day, like that you need to bring as much intensity as we're going to throw at you. And his pregame speeches are always get us so hyped. It's great.
And I'll tell you, he fights for you girls, because last year when I did my all shore teams, he sent me a message about missing out on a couple kids on the team. So he does Yeah, I always appreciate a coach that defends his girls, and wants to get them, recognized out there. So just so it sounds just like you said, teams count you out, but they shouldn't, because he knows your potential. Now, let your junior year, you get eliminated from possibly short conference, entering the short conference on the last day. This year, how did it feel knowing that you girls were getting into the short conference finally?
We were so excited because last year was just so disappointing, especially since we had thought we were going to make it, but then that one game at the cutoff, that was so disappointing. But actually being able to play in short conference was, even though we obviously we got to the second round. That was
Yeah, you girls won the first round, so
yeah. It was just so special, especially since it was my senior year. I'm just really glad I got to play in the tournament at least once. So yeah, it's really good.
who you played at RBR the first
First
round
round, yeah.
around, and they're a good team too. So
Yeah.
that's a good victory. What was the message coach gave you, entering to short conference, that first game?
Really the same thing I told you,
Okay.
just the we have to prove that we're not a joke, and we really gave them all we got. Like, although our one goal was a free kick, that it was really just us going into their box, and it
He
was
told me
really
it was
bad.
a very good game. He said, as a
Yeah,
like somebody like me who's a neutral fan, he said I really would have enjoyed that game. It
yeah.
was just two teams going at it. So, um, now RBC game, obviously they were heavy favorites, but you as a captain and leader, what was your message to the team when you're in that huddle right before kickoff? When the coach isn't there.
So I actually know a lot of the RBC players, so because they play on my club team, so I was kind of just telling them how they play, how to like just really trying to almost like make them feel like we've already played them, so that they're just to prepare them for what's about to happen. We all kind of were really mentally in during warmups. We really wanted to just give our best and not have like a 4-0 loss. And I think we definitely did a good job at like being only 1-0 the whole game and us getting multiple shots on net, which normally doesn't happen because we normally don't get that many shots. But no, I really was just telling them that we could do this. We're not already losing. It's fine. And I think even after they scored, we weren't fighting yet. We were mentally in it. It's like, it's fine, just 1-0. And I think that's what kind of helped us not just get extremely destroyed.
Yeah, RBC tends, they did that last year. It was a close game, and then when they played Donovan, all of a sudden I think they scored 6 goals in like 5 minutes
Yeah.
in the States. Last question about this season, disappointing, you had Howell on the ropes in the first round of states. Howell, obviously everyone knows how good Howell was this year because, they gave Freehold all Freehold can handle in the short conference tournament final. But just, you being a senior, and I just posted this on Twitter earlier about this is the saddest part of the year because the seniors, their heart and soul, they gave their team everything for, 4 years, their school everything for 4 years, and then it just ends. And
Yeah.
you could tell by the ones who were crying. I've seen superstars that I would never expect crying in the midfield after a loss, but just the disappointment of the season. Since you had them on the ropes like that.
Yeah, I was actually one of the ones who cried immediately because I really was in shock with us being up 2-0 at half. I really thought we were going to win that game, but they just came out with so much speed.
They're a very fast team up front.
Really gave us like a good game. I loved playing in it though because it was so back and forth again, and I'm glad at least my last game wasn't
A
a
blowout.
wipeout. Like junior year was our last game was terrible. It was Manalapan just crushed us. But this year I'm glad we at least like showed that we were up, we're forced to be reckoned with. They almost didn't win. They were freaking out first half, which that was the goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really glad we at least had that moment as a team. Like the excitement when we scored the first two were just unmatched. I've never felt that so excited. I was looking at the footage actually, and I remember because I scored the second one, we were all jumping in a circle almost like we had already won. It was that's what I'm gonna miss the most is everyone huddling after a goal.
That's great, and this is one part I hate the end of the season, because so many great players, seasons end, that, you hope keep going. But, like you said, at least your game, it was a competitive, back and forth game. Nothing, you keep your head up high. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Yes.
Okay. What is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I think it would have to be Jurassic Park or any of the Jurassic Parks. I love
The older ones or the new ones?
the older ones.
Okay,
I do not
excellent.
like them.
Excellent. Favorite TV show?
Drake and Josh.
I had no idea what that is.
It's like a kid show from like Nickelodeon. It's
Okay.
barely airing anymore.
Favorite school subject?
It would have to be what I'm taking right now. It has to be macroeconomics. I just find it so like I actually understand it, which is the only reason I kind of like it. I'm pretty good at it.
I like that you gave something that's not like math,
Yeah.
English. Good. Favorite food?
Favorite food. I would say a hamburger right now. I've been obsessed with just eating hamburgers every time I go to restaurants.
I'm on a chicken parm kick right now, but I'm usually on a chicken parm kick. Something you enjoy doing in your free time other than soccer?
I love to draw and paint. I have a couple of pieces that
Okay.
I work on from time to time.
You take art classes?
I used to, but now I barely have time for it. But sometimes on weekends I'll just like sit outside, fresh air. I just love doing it.
It's a great hobby. Would you ever consider coaching or training after college?
I may consider because right now my main volunteering that I do right now is I coach like some of the like younger Marlboro teams like
Okay.
through camps. I like run a station.
Okay.
And I actually love doing it. I did one with Coach Mark actually over the summer.
Okay.
It was his camp, and I just love working with kids. But
That's great.
especially with soccer, because most of the ones that come in they don't even like soccer. They're just like, my parents paid me to come here. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I just felt happy that at the end of the week or the camp, they actually liked soccer. And then I did it for 2 years. And I remember first year, the same kids came back, and I was just happy that they actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, making an impact. Basketball players always say that. When like little kids come to the high school games, just they love. If they can make an impact where a kid falls in love with the sport, that's big. Last question for this: before a game, you listen to your music. What's your pump up song?
Family Ties, and the team is so sick and tired of hearing it because I'm always connected to the speaker and I always play it, and everyone's just already knows that the game's starting once they hear that song.
I think somebody else told me that. Somebody I interviewed last week, and because I don't know, I've never heard a song. I might have heard it, but I don't know music. All right, let's talk. Future. You get ready to go to college. First, what are you looking for in a college? I'm not talking sports related. Just like what you're on a campus. What attracts you when you're looking at a campus or something like that?
I really like if not being in a city, just close to a city. I really like cities, and I also think that it would benefit me just because I feel like internships are way easier to get once you're closer to a city. But yeah, I look for that. I look for
the size of the school matter or
I thought it did. Like my junior year, I really was like, oh, I want to go to a big school, but I've been visiting some smaller schools, and I honestly like the aspect of having a smaller student teacher ratio because I feel like
that's big.
Yeah, I think it'll be better learning experience for me. So I honestly, size does not matter anymore.
Yeah, because you're at these big schools, just Rutgers. You don't sometimes you won't even deal with the teacher. You'll be going to the teacher's assistant and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where smaller schools, you probably more one-on-one with the professor for a particular class. Do you know what you want to study?
Yes, I want to go into finance or economics. My goal is to major in finance and minor in real estate.
Okay.
Because I really want to do something with like investment banking, but then I also really like real estate. So I haven't decided what I like truly want to do, but I know I just want to go into some sort of business when I go into college. But yeah.
I've probably since COVID started, I probably interviewed 100 players. You were the second to bring up real estate.
Really?
So, and when the first one brought it up, it shocked me because, I'm hearing all these other, most of the players are saying the same thing, but you were the second one to say real estate. I remember, I forget who it was, but the first one shocked me when they said real estate. I think it was a basketball player, but that's good that, you have pretty much a good mindset you want to do. And honestly, if you take a class and, like my background, I wanted to be a journalist, obviously, but I took a political science class with a teacher and I fell in love with, I ended up taking every single political science class at Brookdale and at Rutgers, just because this one teacher turned me around. And I actually, 20 years later, I still talk to that professor because, he kind of turned my life around. But it's good that, going in a little head start, what classes that you want to take. What got you involved? Because you said, macroeconomics is your favorite class right now. What drew you to that?
I think it would definitely be the fact that my school is the business program out of all the
Real
districts,
district.
and
Okay.
all my friends are in the business program, and they just always talk about it. And I just got curious and took it senior year, which a lot of my friends were shocked that I did because they were like, "Why are you putting yourself through that senior year?" Because it's a difficult class, definitely.
Yeah, I took like 6 gym classes my senior year.
Yeah, they were confused, and I'd rather be exposed to it since I want to major in college. But also, I would say my sister too, because she was in the business program, she took it and she just recommended it. And she also right now is doing something with business. She's in banking, investment banker.
Okay.
So
How,
I
how much older? How?
She's 10 years older than me, so she's
Okay.
like 26.
I usually ask that during background. Do you have any other siblings?
I have a brother who is 20 years older than me. We have a 10-year gap between all of us. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee. He's a music producer. So
Okay, that's the place to be for that. All right, my last question I ask every single player. What advice would you give yourself at a younger age?
That'd be difficult. I would say probably just to keep practicing. Just keep repetition is really important. I think because a lot of my issues when I wasn't starting was honestly the fact that I wasn't putting in effort outside of practice. I wasn't putting in the extra hours. So I would just say to be patient, practice, because patience and practice is ultimately what got me to where I am now. So I would just say those two things.
Excellent. Olga, thank you for taking time out today for joining me, and good luck next in college next year.
Thank you so much. No problem.
Thank you.